go. All right. Whoa. All right, Charlie, can you try to talk for me just so I know if it's working?
It's all good.
There. Okay, good. So now I am not on. Soundless is not on, but I'm right there. So this needs to be muted. And what I need to do is put this over here and bring this up. Whoop, that up. Take that out. Okay. Get rid of that. And this should be reasonable now. Okay. Charlie, please talk for me again.
Hello there.
That should be good. And we probably don't need to worry about, excuse me, about limiters. How is it sounding to you? It will be very cool to see you, Charlie, collab. Yes, it will. We are finally sorry about coming on a little bit late. Um, it's always like the fun with the tech and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm on your street on your screen. Wow. Okay, welcome in, Charlie.
Hello,
We
everybody.
can do some shout outs here, just so you know. We are going to be doing a little bit of a podcast interview here. What I will be doing, and hopefully Charlie is okay too about this, is it's not like we will be stopping our streams every time someone comes into the chat, only like when there's a good place to interrupt, if that makes any sense. Because we want to be respectful to each other. And it's like if Charlie's in the middle of talking, I'm not going to interrupt him to greet someone. Is that fair?
That sounds absolutely spot on to me, Joanne.
Okay. Did you want to put this on your stream too, Charlie, or just or no?
Honestly, I was considering it, but the way we've got it set up now seems perfect for me. It's
Okay.
exactly how I would have wanted it.
Okay, that's good because what the problem that we had was I didn't know how to turn off my audio doubling. Once I opened OBS, maybe Ella can help me with this eventually. Once I opened OBS, my audio was doubling and it was driving me crazy. I think I actually may know what it was, but this is good now. This is good. So, we have some special news for you guys, right? Charlie and I just finished a collab of a song together, right? And we're going to premiere the video for you today.
I think
You
you're
need to
being
go
very
into
modest,
OBS,
Joanne.
audio meter to turn off one of the audio outputs. Oh, I see. Okay. That's probably what I would have had to do then. Okay, good to know. Thank you, Ella. So yeah, that's probably what I should have did. I'll learn it the next time.
Yeah, we
I
live
was,
and learn.
yeah, I was actually thinking we might not cover everything today that we wanted to, but we can do whatever we managed to be able to do.
Indeed.
So, everybody that is on my stream that doesn't know Charlie Mack, a friend here from the UK, and maybe you could just introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Of course. Hi, I'm Charlie Mack. I am a practicing spoken word artist. I am a lyricist and I am a music producer. This is all practicing and it is all very much something that I find to be a wonderful little hobby that I am exploring. And in the last 2 years, I have come across some amazingly talented and wonderful humans that have been guiding me on Twitch. And Joanne, you are very much one of those humans.
Amazing. And Charlie and I got started on this journey together a couple of months ago. I think I raided into you, Charlie, when it was your stream anniversary. Is that right?
I believe that is correct.
Yeah. And I just was very impressed with things that you had produced. And I thought to myself, I would love to have him work on some of my originals. And I was surprised that you actually agreed to do it. And so then we did wind up getting started with the song that was on my heart at the time, which is a song called "Can You See Me," which is it kind of came out of actually some of the chats that you and I had about
Mm,
things that I've been going through recently about wanting to go back into the in person life after COVID was over, but not
yeah.
really knowing how to participate when everybody was just kind of talking and I didn't know how to have a voice. And so, Charlie, maybe you could just let chat know like some of the things that you said to me at the time.
Of course. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to just take it back to when you said that you were surprised I would be willing to collaborate alongside yourself. And I must admit, I was surprised that you asked. For me, it was very much a privilege and a pleasure. I have been trying my utmost to be able to collaborate, so much so that my first ever official release is actually titled Down to Connect. So for me, when you actually asked, I was over the moon. I jumped at the opportunity. Now to go into what you were saying about the topic of your piece of music that you shared with me that we worked upon and how we were discussing it, I found that it was almost fate because everything you was saying about how you were trying to have a voice and trying to be able to just find your feet back in the world, especially after COVID and after everybody was in a very a very sheltered existence, and to have to open up and come back out into the world and have that piece of music that you were working upon. And for me, for someone who throughout all my life, whenever I've seen anybody from any walk of life who needs a little bit of encouragement just to come out of the shell and maybe find their voice or feel they have a way of expressing their voice, I was always one that would try to encourage that and to bring it out of people. So when we were talking and when we were discussing these things, they were very much hitting every single beat of the drum. And then obviously the piece of music itself, absolutely just perfect timing. It came into my life at the perfect time. And as I said then, as I've been saying all along, the whole journey, we will get into it, but the whole journey from start to finish has been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you so much. We'll talk about some of the different things about the journey as we go along. One of the things that happened on my end once Charlie agreed to do it was I decided to put together a very rough version of what it was that I wanted to do. And it really actually encouraged me to go ahead with my thoughts and just go ahead and do uh, the things that were on my mind. So I tried to produce something that was, I don't have anywhere near the production skills that Charlie has. So I decided just to do that and send it over to him. And the part that I realized also was that I wanted Charlie to actually write some of it. And I'm thinking, Charlie, that that might have been some of the hardest part for you is actually to think of what you wanted your actual words to say.
It was a challenge, but maybe not in the way that some people may think. The challenge I found I was having was I could connect to the piece, and I had so many. There was like an overwhelming amount of let's say lyrics to 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 put to the piece, and each seemed fitting, and each seemed like they were appropriate. But then I don't know whether or not I was second guessing myself, or whether or not I felt like it wasn't as organic as perhaps I wanted it to be. But
Mm.
as I mentioned to yourself at the time, these processes, there was so many positives because it inspired me to write from the piece we were working on. Other pieces sprouted. It was like a it was like a tree of life, let's say, and the roots that were what I was working on was sprouting out life for so many other pieces of music. So as much as I wanted to kind of be down on myself and not having a completed piece to hand over right away, I couldn't. I had to be positive and I had to share that with yourself because something in me told me that you would understand and perhaps you would appreciate the fact that that's what it was doing. So when I finally got the lyrics that were not only organic but were true, they just came out, and it was there, and it didn't need to be. It didn't. I didn't need to write it in the end. It was just. It was so natural, and again, I hope it comes across as I'm speaking to you now. I hope you can
Yeah,
hear
it
it and
does.
hear how it was just wonderful.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate that. And one of the things that I've had said to me, which it's funny that you actually had the opposite, is there have been some people that I've collaborated with, music wise, that have said that I lack empathy and that I tend to be impatient. And it's not really that I'm impatient. I think it's more that I'm learning to stand up for myself. And I won't let people walk all over me like I used to. And I don't know if it's a male female thing or if it's in general. Sometimes I feel like it's a male female thing. Like some men are not
Mm.
used to seeing women used to who will stand up for themselves, especially someone who supposedly comes off so sweet, like I'm supposedly to.
You see, when I was getting the information back from yourself, the feedback and your direction, it was all perfectly timed. Everything you was asking of me was not only instructive and informative, but it also continued to guide me on the journey of creating the piece. So for anybody to have said anything derogatory about your way of doing things, for me, it is the complete opposite. I've got nothing but positive words. Every single step of the way, Joanne, you were absolutely perfect to work alongside. I could not speak higher of somebody to collaborate with. If anybody was to ever ask me if I needed to suggest somebody as a musical collaborator, you would be the first person on my tongue. I would be Just Joanne C.
Oh,
Inquire
thank
with
you.
Just Joanne. That's what I would say because I have had nothing but just a perfect time of it.
Thank you. I think that for me, what I'm learning is that it's okay to be assertive. And sometimes maybe I come up a little harsh when I am in that role that I'm not used to being in. Like maybe some of the words that I use, probably not with you, but maybe some people may have had come across. And,
Yeah,
but I would just say to the person, if you're working with me, just communicate. And Charlie was very good at communicating. Okay, I need a few more weeks. I'm not quite ready yet. I'm looking at it. It's not that I'm too busy. It's just I'm really trying to get it right and things like that. I don't like being left hanging. If a
yeah,
person leaves me hanging, then I get annoyed, and I might actually end the collaboration if I don't hear from the person. But if I hear from the person and they say to me, I need a certain amount of time, and it's good. My husband and I came to the understanding that it's good to actually make it time bound. Like, oh, I need a month, even if it is I need a month or I need a couple of weeks. That's fine,
yeah.
but just say I need a little more time. That's not good.
I understand totally,
Yeah,
and I agree totally. And
yeah.
again, as I said, you were easy to communicate with as well, Joanne. I didn't
Right.
feel like I needed to go out of my way whatsoever. I
Mm-hmm.
felt you gave me plenty of time, and I think you gave me plenty of space, and that was it was perfect. Like I said, everything about the whole collaboration, even up until this point, it's been
Yeah,
nothing but
even
a
though
pleasure.
Thank you. Even though like we were having our tech issues and things like that, it does tend to
Again,
make you a little nervous, but yeah,
I I think, as you said at the start, if it wouldn't be Twitch if we didn't have some tech issues, and I
yeah,
don't think I could be any more relaxed right now. I
that's
am
awesome.
very much appreciative of this time that we've got.
I can't tell how many people are there with Ella. Do we think we have enough peeps here that we're going to show the song?
Well, I think there's no reason why we can't show it now and then
Because
possibly show it again at the end. There's no
yeah, that's
reason why we
true.
can't do that.
We had wanted to let's see how am I good. We were wanting to maybe talk about some of the issues or things that came up in the conversation of the song itself, and I think it would be hard for everyone here to understand what we're talking about until we actually give them a chance to hear it. So that is what I'm going
Perfect.
to do. I'm actually going to share my screen right now and have you guys hear the song and see the music video that I made. This is just up on YouTube, everyone. And welcome in, always a smile. You're just in time. A shout out to
Hello,
our
mate.
friend. And I have a new song out that I actually wrote for Smile too, as well. Which that will be maybe we'll have a different party for that song, but yeah. So this song is on my YouTube, and the video. Oh, this song is actually going to come out on streaming platforms in a couple of days. So let me do a screen share, and you guys will hear it. And I have to click share sound, and here we are. Okay, and here we go. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Do you wanna know me? Your voice keeps swarming round my head. Can you see me?
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta let it go, you know? Overthinking the situation is never good for the soul, so how are you gonna let it be known if it's unable to be shown?
Are you going to use me to tell me all your problems? Are you going to use me?
So in a world full of problems, why not be the solution? Face up your obstacles, then run right through them.
I have a feeling I never should have come. I have a feeling.
Yeah. Stand up to that feeling. It's only there out of spite. This is your life to live and I stand by your side. If the pressure feels too much, let me be your guide. I won't leave you stranded on an island. In me, you can confide.
They sound like bees buzzing in my head. Can you help me, please? I can't hear just one voice. They sound like bees. I just want to go home so I can have some time to think. None of these people know or care just how deeply that I think.
I won't leave you alone in the drone. I can't let you feel unseen. I don't want you to be unheard. Feel like you must leave.
just take up space. No one sees or knows me. They don't even know my face.
Oh,
There we are. Trying to get
oh,
my
thank
Zoom
you,
back.
Ella. Hi, privateer.
Oh, I see what I have to do.
Oh, wow.
There we are. We're back. Okay. Thank you for the claps and thank you for the Gigenified emote, Ella. Thank you so much. Welcome in, privateer. All right. So, thoughts about the words that you chose for that?
Well, from the off, Joanne, it was very much it, the whole process from the very first word that I wrote and then how it organically changed. It was always a feeling of, do you know the saying about if you teach someone to fish versus if you give someone a fish? If you give someone a fish, they can eat
Uh,
for a day, where if you teach someone a fish, they can fish for a day. My thought process when I heard that piece of music was less about holding someone's hand through what they were going through and more about giving them the knowledge so they would be able to go through it themselves. Instead of
I
offering a
see.
hand up, it was more about, no, you can do this. I can be there with you, and I can be with you throughout the whole period of you growing into yourself, you fighting the demons that are inside that you're feeling. I can be there, but wouldn't it be a much better feeling if you accomplished it and you felt like it was something you did on your own 2 feet? And I was trying to
Uh,
convey that. I was trying to get that across by saying, I wouldn't leave you alone. I wouldn't leave you to be there on an island. But also it's that sort of that feeling of wanting to be somebody who can help, but also help from a position where the person who's being helped feels they've helped themselves as much as they were helped. If that makes sense.
I think it does. Yeah, I think that was coming across to me. I'm not sure if I should take a commercial break, not or not, because I know we started late. No, we have some time. I just would want to make sure people don't wind up seeing ads. So I think we can have like 15 minutes before we'll have to take a break. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the time because I hate for people to like suddenly have to watch ads like when we're having like this deep discussion. um,
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
One of the questions that I had at the very beginning, and I've had it all along, I wanted to kind of possibly give you an opportunity to delve into what what you felt when you was writing the piece originally. I know you explained to myself what it was going into, but that moment when you sat there and you started putting pen to paper, what was the emotions that you were conveying?
Thank you for asking that. Um, I feel like when COVID came, I was actually happy because I was so tired of trying to be part of things that I felt like I really couldn't be part of, and didn't want to be part of actually. I could go to a family gathering and maybe enjoy the first hour of it, but then after that, my brain just kind of shut off, and I could feel that I wasn't even really listening to people when they were talking. And I was like, yeah. Um, and then after COVID ended, I saw a lot of my friends, including Twitch friends, going back to the in person world, and some of the Twitch friends didn't stream anymore. And some people I really missed that didn't stream anymore. And I started really trying to push myself a little bit, at least, to go back. And I found that I started to feel invisible again. And I wanted to, I wondered whether there wouldn't be some sort of way for extroverted people to realize that, it's not, I think a lot of people use the word antisocial or um, not person who don't want to be social. And it's not that they don't want to be social, it's that they don't know how to be. And it would be really nice if the people that did know how to be could have a little bit of compassion and at least help us instead of just go ahead and go with their extroverted friends and act like we don't exist.
Again, that is, when you said that to me originally, it reminded me of so many occasions where, as somebody who I feel is kind of an outgoing human, I do tend to feel that I can be that way, but I also can relate to that feeling sometimes of being introverted. So I felt I walk a fine line between both. So I could easily relate to what you were saying on
Mm.
both fronts. So I used an example. I don't know whether or not I mentioned this to yourself or not, but as a young chap, I was a very sporty chap, and some of the friends we would have, especially in schooling and education, when it came to doing sport and activities, wouldn't be as sporting. They wouldn't be necessarily as athletic, but I could see it in them that they wanted to try, and I could see it in them they wanted to be involved. So I took it upon myself, regardless of what the teachers would do or say, I took it upon myself to get these friends, fellow pupils, to just get them involved. And that was at an age where I would have been no more than 8 or 9 years old. So at a very early age, I was already wanting to include people, involve people, help people to no longer feel like they didn't have an avenue to be a part of whatever it wished they wanted to be a part of. So this piece spoke to me a great deal. And again, I can't say for sure if we were necessarily on the same train track, running the same way when we were coming across this piece. But I do feel like we were parallel, regardless of where we were heading. We were parallel, and a lot of the discussions we had, we we met in the middle,
I
which
think
meant
so,
that
yeah.
at the end of this piece, when I finalised what I had done and sent it to you, I was so confident that whatever you was going to do with it, it was just going to make it even better. And that is literally what I felt when you sent me the fine. I was so not will. I wanted to hold off. It was like Christmas Day, when you've got something really, really good and you want to hold on to it. So I didn't want to listen right away, but I couldn't help myself. It was like a box of chocolates. You've got a couple left, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna have one, and I just dipped in. Oh, but yeah,
That's
uh,
wonderful. I
I,
did
I
want to,
come
excuse me,
on.
can I say a couple of things? Um, there's an organization that I recently joined, which I'm not going to mention the organization right now, but it's one that teaches people who are different from each other to learn to talk to each other, because I feel like that's one of the major problems in the world today is that, and especially I know lately, is that people who are different from each other just don't tolerate, and they just insult each other more and more rather than learning to understand. And when I was listening to the part that you had recorded, I thought two things. I thought that it's almost like we were in sort of like a rock opera, almost like my inspiration was Tommy, the rock opera Tommy, because there's a part where he sings "See Me, Feel Me," and I felt like in the beginning, your first part in the beginning was your character kind of being preachy, like saying, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, where it's not as much what my character would have needed at the time. My character would have needed the second part of what you were saying more, your part where you're saying, I will be with you no matter what. And maybe the teach you to fish part comes later.
Mhm.
But if you're when you're making, it's like it sounds like ET, first contact or whatever. From the outer space. When you're first trying to make a connection with someone who feels very left out, your first approach to them is to listen to them, not tell them. You know what I mean?
Ah, yes. Yes, indeed. That's a good observation of that point. I I maybe again that might come from a sport and background for myself, whereas I wouldn't have necessarily have come across it as the arm around the shoulder to start with. My coming from again, you using a sport and analogy, the feelings and the emotions that are conveyed on a sport and pitch a lot of the time when, let's say, when you are not necessarily not included, but when you are feeling down, it's usually a motivational tool to be like, come on now, pick yourself up, let's get on with this, you've got this in you, come on, rather than being an arm around the shoulder and being like, it's okay, we'll get through this. So your observation there is a perfect example of how where you were feeling your introvertedness and how it was coming through, and how where I've approached it, it comes from a different angle. And
Right, it's a
yet
different angle.
when you come to the next part, you can hear and see there's a slight transition. And
Yeah,
it's
then your character comes over to then saying that you're still but not going to be left alone no matter what happens. And I think also from the standpoint of some of the things I've been through, for example, like anxiety, depression, and very recently grieving the loss of my father, the loss of my cat, and Emerald that I was very attached to, and things like that. Talking to trying to talk to my family about, can we, like, on my father's birthday, something like 6 months after he died, can we get together and just read some of his poetry and just try to remember dad? And my brother's saying, oh, we've moved on. You should move on too. You know, just move on. He's gone. We just move on, rather than them saying, okay, we realize that this might be something that you would need, and we're alongside you, and you know, we'll help you through this.
it's a strange
So
old thing, grief, because
yeah,
people get through it at different speeds. So
yeah.
I understand what you're saying there, Joanne.
Because some people just say, in the same thing with losing Emerald, we have times when I have times when I'm fine, I have times when I'm not. But it's a thing that people will often say, oh, you should just move on. And
Mm.
it's not it doesn't feel supportive to hear somebody say, you should just move on.
And again,
And
logically, moving on isn't something we do at a snap of a finger. It takes time and everyone's different. So for someone to turn around and say, oh, just move on, it seems very incompassionate.
yes, I thank you. And same thing with like being depressed, and sometimes it's not even an emotional thing, it's more of an organic thing. Like right now, I think I'm having a little bit of a struggle because I'm not sleeping well due to the clock change. And some people might say, well, I have the solution for you to not be depressed. Don't be depressed. Just don't worry, be happy. It's like, wait a second.
It's not that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not that simple.
Yeah. So, but then for the second part of it, I feel like then it's my character that's not listening, because your character comes alongside and says, I won't leave you alone. I don't want you to feel unheard. I don't want you to feel like you need to leave. And yet my character just continue to say, well, nobody cares about me. And it's true that there's a point where the quote feeling sorry for yourself or your feeling overwhelmed aspect of you does get in the way, where there should be a point where you should say, okay, can you stop complaining? Like, I should say this to myself. Can you stop complaining for just 1 second and realize that there's someone right there who actually cares about you, and maybe give them a chance, you know? So that's where the whole concept of people learning to listen to each other comes around.
Really, another solid point you've made there, because again, your context and how the words of the piece actually come across, the story between both characters, the juxtaposition, the flip that happens in that sort of in that stage of the track, it is kind of relevant to how the actual organic emotions of both of our beings are, for what you were saying and how you would naturally be. And as you said, originally the thing you would feel you would have needed would have been necessary, like the arm around the shoulder, and not necessarily the for lack of a better word, a boot up the backside and tell them, come on, you've got this. Whereas then when it flipped, when the change happened, and you feel more like, actually no, you should have been getting maybe someone saying, come on, don't be, you've seen it in yourself, and you could see it in the words, which is it's a valuable lesson, because sometimes I don't get told a lesson or shown a lesson. I figure it myself. You see the lesson in hindsight, let's say. And in that piece of music that we've made, you've seen 2 points from the first, say, verse, and then into the next part, that organically show the emotion that is being conveyed in the piece, which is a really good observation, Joanne. That is brilliantly. I see it I see it totally different now you said that.
Thank
so
you.
good.
I was a little worried that you would feel put off by me saying that.
No, not at all. I love that. Can I ask a question of yourself?
For just a second, let me catch up with chat for just a second, because
Yes,
I saw
indeed.
Gscape showed up and I didn't recognize Gscape. Welcome in. A musician friend here also. Is Privateer a streamer or no?
Privateer is indeed a streamer of music, a streamer of video games, a friend
Let's
of the
do
Bunny
some
fam.
shouts then.
Okie doke.
I'll do shout for Privateer, and also Gscape, who I have had a chance to not make it to their stream, but watch some of the VODs, and I'm looking forward to seeing their streaming. Looked like a very talented musician, and we're trying to encourage them to do some singing. So yeah, I'm very happy to see friends here in the chat, and people are saying, like Gscape was saying earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't get to that. And Ella had also said something. I missed it now. And thank you for the compliment, Smile. Ella said when they had to manage people in America, had to make sure to reach out specifically to introverts in meetings. Yeah. Sometimes introverts have the best ideas. Thank you for saying that. And Smiles on the road. Yes. And you're welcome, Privateer. So yes, you can ask me something. Let me just see the time. Actually, can we do a quick break just to make sure nobody has to watch ads while we're talking? I will do a quick BRB. We can all take care of our needs and be back in 3 minutes, okay?
Sure thing, Joanne. See you in 3.
Thank Now we're back again. Thank you, everyone, for waiting. And are you there, Charlie? I guess he might not be back yet. We're not sure. His character, one of the things I did ask Charlie to do, there he is. I asked Charlie to actually get started with a V2 model, and I really like the V2 model that he has. I think it would have been hard for me just to talk to air, so I really appreciate that you did that.
I have to thank you wholeheartedly because this is something I have needed to do for my own stream for quite some time, and your way of asking is a very good way of approaching. I can honestly say you asked me to do anything on this piece, anything you asked in a way that let me feel like it was my choice if I was going to do it. And that is for myself, right? It's the best way for myself. So when you asked for time scales, when you asked if there could be vocals included on a piece, when you asked if I could have somebody on camera, all of these things were all asked in a way that I didn't feel like I could have refused. And it meant that now I'm sitting here and I have a model that I can use in the future and it benefits my own stream. I'm sat here with an original collaboration piece that I am proud of that features my own vocals and a collaborative written piece that I genuinely feel like is one of the most organic pieces I have. So
Awesome.
my thanks is unfounded. Anyhow, I digress.
You did have a question you were going to ask me, so let's get back to that.
I have multiple questions. I'm going to ask them one at a time because I don't want to overwhelm you.
Thank you.
The next question I think is quite fitting, especially as we've just come back off a break. When I sent the piece back to yourself and I had adjusted it using Suno and there was some AI integration, and then you received that piece of music and you listened to it, my question for you is, how much did you feel the vocals that had been put on top of the track that you shared me were a benefit or a hindrance for yourself when you came to then do your own part? Because I know there was a process in there, Joanne. I know there's a process of hearing what you hear and then doing your own piece. So I was just wondering how that process came about and how you found it.
Oh, the AI voice that you first gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I felt like it was in a way a guidance of things that I could try. And it was a little intimidating because I didn't feel like my voice had that kind of quality in terms of power of an ability to reach like some of the high notes in the level of power that voice had. So I think when I first started to record it, I tried to match the one that the AI voice, and then I eventually just discarded it because I realized I wasn't going to be able to achieve the kind of style that it had. I've decided it was better for me to just do my own.
See, I love that as a response as well, because to me that tells me you've heard something and you've tried to take lead from it. You've tried to take that as an example, and then upon realizing actually, I would probably be better doing it organically, just what you had already, and yet you still recognize that it could be a guidance. So it's not necessarily a hindrance in this situation. It's more of it's a benefit because it kind of taught you to go with what you already knew, or it also gave you a way of, let's say, practicing a guided way. See, that for me, that's really informative because again, I hope to take the methods I'm using to create music and continually add more, let's say, human involvement, having having the human implement the organic nature of a piece is arguably where I want to get to. I'm just going about it a totally different way. So that's really valuable, a really valuable way to
Thank you.
answer that. So thank you.
And I'm just curious also, on your end, like, what you put out to me was really, I thought, really high quality production. And I find it interesting that you say that you don't really have much music background. So when you go to put something together like that, do you put it through AI so that it finds out what chords I used, or do you just go ahead and generate your own? And if you don't know much about music, how do you go ahead and figure that out?
So the easy answer, but it's a bit of a cop out, so I'll go into a more of a detailed answer. The easy answer is that I've got a very good ear for music. I know that's a, I know that's, like I said, it's a cop out. A lot of people can say they've got a good ear for music. I I technically trained my ear throughout the years. In a very compulsive way, listened to a lot of commercial radio music here in the UK for well over a decade, and I consumed, like you may be aware, you may not, but when I'm on Twitch, I consume a lot of Twitch. I'll be a part of many a stream, and I'll give a lot of time to it. The same went into when I was listening to commercial radio, and I trained my ear on music. So when it came to actually learning music the way I'm doing it, I already had a foundation of what I wanted to hear when I was creating something. It's like, it's kind of, I make thousands of pieces of the same piece using the AI. It'll regenerate thousands, and I will be listening out for that one piece that I feel is what I'm listening for. With your track, the original you sent me over, before I ever put it anywhere near the I already used plugins and different things to try and not necessarily change the sound, but just tweak it. For example, with Audacity, some of the reverb levels that came over originally, I wondered what would it be like if I added some more reverb? What would it be like if I added a little bit less reverb? And just like if you use like how when you bake a cake, sometimes to bake the perfect cake you need the exact ingredients and you need the right measurements and the right everything. Whereas other times you just need to break a couple of eggs and you can get yourself close to a cake. So with music and with what you're asking, I kind of just explore, I kind of just discover, and with an ear that I feel I've trained, I genuinely listen to a lot of what I am making myself before I ever get to a final piece. When it came to how it developed, how your piece then went into the AI and how it came out with what it wanted, from what you had already shown me and then what I had created in Audacity, I had an idea of what the sound or the genre of music was necessarily. So I asked the AI to replicate a similar genre. I kind of figured the sound and the speed of the beat, the BPM. We didn't want something too fast, but we didn't want something that was very slow. So I asked it to set a BPM that was reasonable. I think I went with around 100 BPM originally. Then I wanted certain styles of percussion. So I asked for that. And then I must have generated 40 or 50 versions of the piece. And they were all different in different qualities and different levels. And eventually I come across the piece that was the piece that I sent back to yourself, which then you worked upon. So
How did you figure out the chord for it though? Did the AI do that as well?
So with the AI program I'm using, I can upload. Oh,
Yes.
my Zoom just went wrong. I'm going to reload it. Is it my Zoom? Or is it my
I can
Twitch?
I can see you.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear
Okay.
you.
I thought everything just crashed. So
I
with
could
the
have been just
AI,
sitting really quiet.
when you when you have a beat, you can basically upload any sort of audio you can upload to it, providing it's not copyright, because obviously that's just it won't even allow that. If you were to try and upload, say for example, I was trying to upload one of Madonna's songs, it would come up with a message saying this is already a created piece of art. You can't use this.
I
Same with
see.
lyrics as well. If I tried to take, I don't know, "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" and use the lyrics from that, it recognizes it. It won't allow you to use something that's copyrighted. And so with your piece, I knew that it wasn't copywritten because it was something we were working on. So I knew I could put it into the AI and it would read what was implemented and it would try to replicate it to the best of its ability. It's something I've done previously. I've done it with a couple of pieces from Ella, and it's something that I do when I've tried to do a few covers, and I'll get a public domain backing track and I'll build from that as a foundation. So that's how the way I've come to learn it, the AI implementation is something that is being built from public domain sounds, beats, music, lyrics, and they have been building it now for 4 years. It's been in public access for 3 years in beta and 2 years in wide general use. And in the 4 years, it's gotten to a point now where, as you say yourself, it sounds very, very well polished. It sounds very well produced.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes with it. I try to say this to people. I would love everybody to go on to the application I'm talking about. It's called Suno, Suno. I'd love everybody to go on there and just try and make something just to see where they get, because the experience itself is a valuable experience because it just shows you where we are when it comes to AI and as a tool for creation in music. But also it does kind of allows you to hear, when you hear anything I've created, you can kind of hear the effort that has gone into it. And I know this because I've had fellow friends who have used Suno and they've said the same thing. It's not like you can just click play and it'll just make it for you. So to basically sum up what I'm saying and to answer your question, when it came down to using the AI and having it build the piece that we then went to work on, its implementation was only a small part. And eventually, as you know, we ended up removing a large chunk of the AI's implementation because the majority of it was the vocal. There was a little bit of a backing in the percussion, and it kind of helped build a little bit of the beat. But a lot of what was there was what was already put there by yourself. And I know you said you kind of like put it together, but
Mm-hmm.
what you'd already put together organically was kind of it was what was needed already. It was more than just the foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I would 100%, Joanne, I would definitely advise anybody involved in music to just have a look, because there's umpteen different ways you can implement Suno into helping grow in music from
I
the
think,
very
excuse me, I
no,
just
of
wanted to
course.
say something, okay? I think that Suno has sometimes come into question because sometimes people don't use it the right way. And I think in the past, at least, they hadn't been held as accountable as maybe they are now, because I think there was something said about that. But um,
Mm,
but I feel like AI kind of comes at a price where you don't want something to sound too polished because then
yeah.
then we would just be listening to things on computers. I think that's why I asked you to kind of take the voice modulation off of your voice
Yeah.
and have it be you, because I
Hmm.
like your voice and I wanted it to be you, and I wanted it to be both of us. And by the way, I
Yeah.
did get some follows. Let me just say for a second, I didn't thank people for their follows that they had done here. So we just got one, I think. Sorry to interrupt myself because I just realized I hadn't done a few thank yous here. Okay, looks like I had two follows from Privateer. Well, I can't even read that name. Yeah, Privateer, and just now I got one from a host. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I think AI does come at a price to a point where I had some album covers and promotional art that I had generated through AI, and I had decided they looked good, but there are so many things that people said, especially with AI in terms of visual art, that it's very hard to not steal from something else. And there's also something to the human element of it that even if it's not perfect, you actually might feel more connected to the person if you wind up using just a hand drawn piece of art. So I
Hmm.
actually bought myself just a stylus so that I can draw directly into the computer, because I decided I want to start trying to use some of my own drawings again rather than just always trying to generate my album covers that way.
I can, I totally agree with all of that, Joanne. And again, I, I feel my stance on AI has not veered at all. I've always felt it was a tool, and it is up to us as humans to use it correctly. I understand there will be people out there that will abuse it, and for them, there needs to be legislation put in place. But as a tool, as simply a tool, I think there is far more benefits for the use of AI than there is against it. But I also 100% would support and suggest anyone who has the ability to do the thing. For example, you wanted to make the art and you had it in your capability to go make that art the way you ended up making it. For anyone with the ability to learn the craft and go about the craft that way, that would always be the avenue I would advise first. But having AI as a tool, providing it's being used, it's used respectfully and it's used in a manner that is, it is just a tool. It is just another means to get to the end. It's not the actual main thing. Then I would have to say I support the use of AI. I think ultimately there is there is going to be a lot of converse regarding it, and there'll be a lot of talk about AI in the coming years. And I hope we get to a point where AI is being used to save human lives quicker than we get to the stage where people are upset by AI being used in the world of art. Because
Uh,
ultimately, the thought I have in my head is the more positivity we have behind AI and the more positive we have behind about the people behind the AI developing it to help humanity, and less about helping, let's say, line the pockets of people that are investing into AI, the better it is for humanity. But
okay.
I 100% agree with all of what you said, and the fact that you were able to pick up a stylus and create the piece that you wanted to create rather than going down an AI generated route. That's more power to you.
Thank you.
That is exactly the again my my use of AI and what I'm creating is a means to an end. It is not the only way, and it's not going to be. Ideally, I would love it if in the future we could collaborate on more pieces.
Oh, sure.
And I know for a fact that you are a very talented musician, a very gifted vocalist. And for me, all I've ever needed was people that were wanted to work on things and create things. And I never really had that. So AI came in as a helpful tool. Anyway, I digress.
Yes. So you said you had some other things you wanted to ask me. Was that right?
Yes, I had a plethora of questions regarding so many different things. So again, I always wish to approach everything with a great deal of respect. And when it came down to this piece of music, I had so much respect for yourself because of not only your approach, but the context of the piece. I could immediately feel connected to it, like I said originally. For me, I wanted to ask, when you was thinking of collaborating, was this the piece that stood out? Was it the piece that you were currently working on and you just was like, I'll offer it up? Or was there something that told you like, okay, can you see me? This is something I want to work with Charlie on.
I felt like, Charlie, that there may have been other pieces that were in my mind before this, and this one wasn't really developed yet then, actually, as much. And I think it started to come forward in my mind more when it came to some of the things that we talked about, both on my stream and off. So that's kind of an answer to your question there.
Brilliant. And that leads me on to see, I felt like we did this very organically. Nothing felt forced. Everything felt like it happened as it happened. And it all, you know how you can talk about a concertina effect, where one thing knocks into another and it just not, the knock-on effect from you just raiding into me and being yourself, Joanne, to be honest, just being a really wonderful human being, that knock-on effect, which has now led us to having this collaboration stream. I wanted to I wanted to envision when you were coming to, thinking of the piece of music you wanted to work on with me. I wanted to envision it, and now I know that it fits that concertina effect. It fits that knock-on effect because it was one of those things where you organically come across the piece and we worked upon it together. That again, I don't think I've stopped smiling since we went live. I don't know if my character sees it because I'm looking all
Uh,
over the place, but
that's
yeah.
a great thing
Okay.
in itself. Yeah.
I
I
see. I
yeah,
see
I
your
feel
mods
like
in the chat.
I feel like a lot of it did have to do with just things we talked about, and it
Mm,
did develop on its own, with its and welcome in Celine. First, let me take a quick break to just give some shouts here also to A Word, who is speaking of somebody who does things very organically. A Word is just an incredibly talented pianist. And also, he's just very chill as a gamer, although there are maybe some moments that are not so chill. And Selena also, who's just started to come back to streaming, by the way. I will encourage you all to follow my mod, Selena. There you go. I just wanted to make sure I recognize people who come along into chat. So, one of the things I did also want to just backtrack with reference to this piece, sort of talking about, is some people don't know, and it is something that I talk about on my stream occasionally, is that I have like within the past 2 years, I would say, an adult diagnosis as autism spectrum high functioning. And one of the things that people who are, quote, I don't know if there's ever such a thing as normal, but people who don't have it, just put it that way, tend to not understand is it's not something that we do on purpose. It's something that in some ways our brain does to us, and we have to live our lives this way. With reference to me, the way my brain works, I would love to be able to be more social than I am. Sometimes I just find that I can't stop my brain from shutting down. when I'm in a social situation, I would love to be able to be around my family for 3 or 4 hours and sitting in the living room and talk. But my brain literally almost as a reflex, without my even wanting it to, just starts to shut down and I don't even hear what people say. And it's what I was talking about in that song in terms of they sound like bees. That is pretty close, actually, to what it sounds like to me. It's like their voices are there, but I don't hear what they're saying. And it's almost as if like a person who's hearing impaired, when sometimes when they get a hearing aid, it's harder for them to hear if they're at a restaurant because there's all the people talking. Where it's kind of like that for me if I'm in a room, especially with a whole bunch of people, and it's one of the reasons why I stream because otherwise it's very hard for me to socialize. Um, and Selena and my husband and I and Selena's wife were at a restaurant one time. It was like a very difficult effort for me to actually sit there and listen to Selena and her wife and actually not let all the people in the restaurant really just overwhelm me. But there's only a limited amount of time and I can do that. Whereas I will just go, okay, my brain is done. Everybody else can talk and I'm I can't do this anymore. And I think that people who don't have this, it's like I can remember my mother-in-law saying, well, you just go off and be by yourself. And I like to talk as if this is the normal way. You know, the people who talk, or there's their normal way. So I like that since COVID, especially, we've been able to find ways to be together where you have Zooms and the conversation can be moderated so that somebody can be the person who's talking. And if there's like 20 people on the Zoom, everyone else can literally be muted so that one person can just talk. So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
You have just answered my next question. Very much just answered it. You've just
Oh,
covered it. I
good.
was going to ask regarding the the line about the bees and how that is. I suppose instead of asking a question, I can continue forth what you were saying and possibly enlighten you a little bit regarding how I approach that segment for myself. For the whole piece, Joanne, I did my absolute utmost to try to put myself in the shoes of the characters, both both versions, mine that my character and the character you had. I tried to put myself in the shoes to try and feel or somehow relate. And again, I'm not going to say that I can or ever could, because again, what you have is personal to yourself. But I tried, and during that bit, the sequence of the bees and how it was, it reminded me of I have had very few, let's say, panic attacks in my life. But one of the experiences when I had one, my whole body felt like it was vibrating and it felt like everything went quiet around me. And I tried to remember that feeling when I was experiencing what you were saying, but then tried to include, instead of the sound around my ears going quiet, it being very loud, but so loud that not one thing was distinguishable. And by doing that, I felt like I was able to continue organically writing what was coming afterwards. It helped that journey. Now it was very interesting that is, it's not necessarily exactly what you were saying you were feeling and conveying at that stage in the track, but it is, as I said earlier, we are like two trains on parallel paths going to the same junction. We might not necessarily have been exactly thinking the exact same thing, but the emotion was continually the same. It seemed we both knew pretty much what the track was conveying. And at that stage, I was still organically, I admit it, I was still unsure on the direction. So to hear you say now that, like I said, I was going to ask what the emotions were regarding that part of the track. To hear you say, well, actually, Charlie, it's literally that emotion that I feel, and with you having, like you said, having autism and stuff, and not being able to necessarily not being able to necessarily control what this is. It's not a thing that is in your control. That's again, as I said, I felt a little unsure and I felt a little bit scared, and that emotion that came from I'm feeling maybe how sometimes not having control might make you feel, especially in a conversational situation. And again, if you're talking about then going to Zoom and having the ability to then get some control back, it kind of it's kind of like a nice little bow on that little part of the track for me. It kind of ties it up perfectly. So thank you for
You're welcome.
inadvertently answering
Like,
that question.
yeah, like for example, I had one time a group of producers that I joined, and I really was enjoying it at first, because in the beginning there weren't as many people. Like I think in the beginning there may have been 4 or 5 people in it, and but as time went on and it wasn't moderated, people were just chiming in and whenever they wanted, and I felt like it was always the same people who were chiming in, and the people who had it didn't moderate it so that everybody had a chance to have something to say. Whereas, then I eventually quit it because I felt like it's too much favoritism towards certain people and it leaves towards a bad feeling. So then I just decided maybe it's not meant to be favoritism. Maybe it's just that they just don't realize that there's some people that may want to have something to say, and they don't know how to chime in if you do have it as a thing where people aren't muted.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've done recently, and I talked about that I joined a pool because to help with my arthritis, because the regular aerobics weren't working. But I found that once there got to be more than 3 people in that pool, the echoes around the room came to be too much. So I started just putting my head underwater whenever I could so I wouldn't have to hear it. And realizing that, okay, I may want to talk to these people, but if there's 6 of us in the room, it's just not going to happen. So I'm going to come in maybe some of the time when everybody's there, but try to aim for time when there's less people in and see if I can initiate maybe one-on-one dialogue with some of them and just not expect myself to be something I'm not, you know?
It seems a very logical and wise way to go about it, Joanne.
Yeah.
Now, if I may, I would like to give you the floor and ask you if you wouldn't mind. Would you be willing to dive into a little bit more about the breakdown that comes in the song, the part where we have a bit of quiet, whether or not was that something when you were putting the piece together you wanted to have fit in that part of the track and have it remain there? Or is that something that again organically found its way to be in there? Because there is a
But
segment in the piece after the lines where you're talking about the bees, where we have a breakdown. And for me, when that comes in, it's almost like a slice down the middle, or a slice in like a break off, and then the track continues, and then the story that's being told, it it kind of develops into how we get to the end of the piece. And I was wondering whether or not that was something that was again organic, or if it was something that you had intended to have in there.
oh, thank you for asking that. I actually have that as kind of style that I generally do. Um, I do like to not have the a piece be the same volume level and energy level throughout. And if you look at other things that I've done, you'll see that there may be a chorus that has a lot of energy, and then the verse really dips down and gets to be a
Right.
lot quieter. And because I find that's a personal preference for me, that
Mm.
I feel like it makes me want to listen more. It's like the way my husband talks. He talks very slowly. I think it's one of the reasons why I like to be around him. His voice is very deep and low, for one thing. He tends to talk quietly. And he also tends to talk very slowly and deliberately. And I think that once you have a lot going on, if there is a dip like that, then that makes you pay attention. Does that make
So
sense?
insightful. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. That's a
Mm.
real thank you. Thank you for answering that because that's again in a small way, that could be a very valuable lesson that I could not just in music. I think knowing knowing when to talk and knowing when to listen is a valuable commodity to learn. And it's something that I feel I am
I
trying to
can really see
learn.
that you're trying. Mm-hmm.
And I think when it comes down to that piece of music, knowing that in a way it could well be considered a just Joanne signature touch to have that sort of styling. But it's
Yeah.
something that I would like to introduce to some of my pieces at different times when I know there's a piece that I want to have the emphasis on a verse or a chorus perhaps at the end
Mm-hmm.
to maybe just bring it down a little bit, have a bit of a breakdown, and then add a little bit of the Just Joanne touch and bring it back up again. That is,
uh,
thank you.
that's such
Oh,
an
we've got
honor
some
to
more
think that
friends
I'll
coming
have
into
an
chat.
influence on you that way. Yeah, I think that it is important too, like as you were saying, when you're talking, and it's one of the things that I would say to people who are saying, like you, like the learn to fish aspect of it is great. And I agree, like a person like me kind of does need to learn to kind of come out of the comfort zone, sometimes at least, and learn to participate. But it's very hard to participate when there just is no break and the person just doesn't stop and give you a chance to kind of interject in, because if they don't, a person like me will just give up and say, okay, forget it, I'm going home.
Which again, I get how that analogy, the teaching someone to fish, that isn't necessarily going to be appropriate for everybody. But I do
Well,
understand. Again, I like. Sorry, no, you say.
I think it's us teaching each other to fish, which is a
Yeah.
cool idea.
Mm.
So I would be teaching you to fish in terms of, okay, you want to include more introverted people, and you will learn to go talk for a little bit, and just like you were doing now, stop and saying, hey, Joanne, what do you think about XYZ? Instead of continuing just to continue to talk, which I would let you talk for hours if you didn't do that. And eventually, if I did, if that kind of dialogue did happen, a person like me would eventually give up and say, I'm not interested in this anymore. I'm leaving, you know? Whereas if
Yep.
you did learn to fish in that way and say, okay, I want to include more people, I'm going to learn to have pauses once in a while.
Yeah. I think you've done a. I feel you did a very good job of explaining, and it again, as I say to you, it's been very organic. It came at me at a time when I have consciously made a decision to try harder to listen more. I spent a
Mm.
lot of my time, Joanne, in life as the youngest of three in a household that was fairly loud, trying to be heard. So when you try to be heard, you kind of feel you need to say a little bit more, speak a little louder. And as something that kind of then fell on my character, I was known to be a very talkative chap, someone who's always happy to have a conversation. But I wasn't always known for being a good listener. And it's something that I really do feel is important, because communication isn't a one-way street. It's a two-way street.
Right.
And to
Right.
communicate.
And there's people who I think would like to see me, for example, participate in family things more, and not just go, I'm going to get my knitting out and let everybody else talk, and just they can do their thing, and not, kind of just retreat into my shell. There are people who would rather not see me do that, or at least would like to see me emerge from it more. So I think that there's a thing where I need to learn actually how to interrupt people. So there's things that, like I said, I need to learn to fish too. Like, and to be able to say, like, to have you talking and have you say, can I say something? I actually watched a video when I was trying to figure out what are these skills that I'm going to learn now that I want to try to be a little bit more social. What are these skills that I'm going to learn? And this one person said, you can interject something like, can I say something? And then the person will know that you have something to say, but you can let them finish what they're saying. So there are those kind of skills.
Again, I felt at the start of this process, when we were talking about collaborating, I felt like I was going to grow as a human. And now when I sit here, I feel not only have I grown, but in a way, I hope, I don't want to speak for yourself, Joanne, or it sounds like you're saying to me you've grown in a little way yourself. And if that's the case, then two peas in a pod. We've both grown together over something we are very passionate about. And I said to you, I was so proud of this, and I continue. I am so happy, and I'm so proud of what we've accomplished. Would it be okay? Now we have a second listen to our collaboration.
Oh, you read my mind. I was actually going to say that, because there's some people in chat that weren't here.
Fantastic.
Of course. Are you ready? Is everybody ready? All right. Just as an introduction, this is a song that Charlie Mack and I, my hand go in the right direction. This way. Okay. This is a song that Charlie Mack and I collaborated on, where at first it started that I had something in my mind generally that I wanted to do. It was just sort of the seed of the idea. It wasn't really even developed yet. But then I came to his chat. I think we rated on your streamer anniversary, and I just mentioned, after I heard him do some really great stuff, that I thought, oh, it would be great to have somebody like him to work with me. And I was so happy that he said yes. And he's actually, we've actually really found this as a piece that helped us grow, both of us as people. And myself personally, at least, I'm hoping going forward, this will help to open up more conversations between people, that maybe someone like me that might be wanting to learn to open up more, or somebody like Charlie that might want to learn to include people more, that these kind of conversations can be continued to open up between more, not just us, but other people out there in the world who might need to hear this. So without further, let's show it to you.
Perfect.
Okay. And I need to make it go back to the beginning. Good morning, Solar. You're just in time to hear this song. And make sure that it's all the way up. There. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Do you wanna know me? Your voice keeps Can you see me?
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta let it go, you know? Overthinking the situation is never good for the soul, so how are you gonna let it be known if it's unable to be shown?
Are you going to use me to tell me all your problems? Are you going to use me?
So in a world full of problems, why not be the solution? Face up your obstacles, then run right through them.
I have a feeling I never should have come. I have a feeling.
Yeah. Stand up to that feeling. It's only there out of spite. This is your life to live in. I stand by your side. If the pressure feels too much, let me be your guide. I won't leave you stranded on an island. In me, you can confide.
They sound like bees buzzing in my head. Can you help me, please? I can't hear just one voice. They sound like bees. I just want to go home so I can have some time to think. None of these people know or care just how deeply that I sink.
I won't leave you alone in the drone. I can't let you feel unseen. I don't want you to be unheard. Feel like you must leave.
And it starts again. Here it goes again. I think it's time to leave. I'm like a picture on the wall and I just take up space. No one sees or knows me. They don't even know my face. You are. No, excuse me. There you are.
Just magic. Magic. It
Excuse
sounds
me a
so
second.
hauntingly beautiful to me. I don't know if that comes across for yourself, but vocally, you absolutely just double mwah, chef's kisses all around, Joanne. That was
Thank you.
every single time I heard it.
Thank you. I actually wanted to mention something when I was looking at that video. I forgot to tell you all that picture that I used in it, and I'm actually using that as a cover for the album too. I obviously don't look like that anymore. My hair is like short now. That picture was taken probably during COVID, and that was from a Facebook post that I did where I actually had one picture of me smiling and one picture of me frowning. And the point that I was trying to make is that on Facebook, everybody's always smiling and making things look like it's great, you know. And I had found out just before that happened that sometimes when you're seeing people smiling and looking like they're having a great time and everything's great, they're actually arguing and maybe on the verge of divorce and all kinds of things happening. And I kind of put that picture deliberately saying, what if we would post a picture that shows what we're really feeling as opposed to always feeling like we have to smile, you know? So that's where that picture came from.
You can never be sure about what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah. Because I remembered that from like some friends of mine that they were always posting all these pictures that looked like they were having a great time and they were going places together and having an awesome life. And then sometime later, I found out they were filing for divorce, and I thought, "What? You guys are having fun?" And I realized that those Facebook pictures, those are just for show.
Yeah, I have to be honest, Joanne. I have I have what is called an origin story for Twitch in general, and I'll say it quickly. And the
Yeah,
reason why I'm saying it is because it very much leads into what you've just been speaking about. I don't actually use social media anymore, other than Twitch and YouTube. They are the only two platforms that I use as social media. The reason for that was during COVID, I found a lot of the platforms I was using were not necessarily benefiting me mentally. A lot of the things I was seeing coming through the feeds were not necessarily things I would want to be seeing, and they were impacting me in a negative way. And on one
mm-hmm.
fateful night, I was watching a podcast of two people, and one of them was a behavioral psychologist, and they were talking about how what you are seeing, what you are taking in with your eyes and with your ears, actually has an effect on how you feel, your mentality, how happy you are or how sad you are. Now, logically, I was always aware that things can impact us as humans from the outside, but I didn't realize how much this social media I was taking in was impacting me in a negative way. And on that
Right.
day, the following video I watched was of a musician who's on Twitch called Frank Tedesco, who put YouTube videos up of his reactions from Omegle. And he turned around at the end and said, "Oh, by the way, I also stream on Twitch." And Charlie here thought, well, he's a positive influence. I want to take all the negativity that I end up getting put on me and removing that and putting positive in. Why not go and join on Twitch? I had a Twitch account I created many a year ago. I logged her in. I jumped into Frank's chat and I said, "Hello, Mr. Tedesco. My name's Charlie. I've come from YouTube. I love all of your work. It's nice to meet you." And he read
Oh,
out the
wow.
comments. He welcomed me. And lo and behold, 2 years later, I'm sat here now on this amazing journey. And I'm able to tell you that's how I came to Twitch. And lo and behold, you yourself has literally just said that you found that you've seen on Facebook a lot of the things that you are seeing may not necessarily be exactly how as it seems.
Right.
So
Well,
I
it's
thought that
like,
was quite befitting.
thank you. Well, I just wanted to say, one of the things that I did actually is I almost never post on Facebook anymore. I look at what my friends are doing sometimes, but I don't follow most of the people. I unfriended most of the people that I had on Facebook because what I found was there were things that were going on, like say maybe a party at someone's house or some people went out to lunch or something that were people that I figured were my friends, but then they hadn't invited me to like anything. And I felt so left out that I realized I didn't need to feel left out. I might as well just, if it made me feel that bad, I might as well just not look at it. And
Yeah.
just like you said, and what I realized is, as I also said earlier, was all these things that I was looking at where people were looking like they were having such an awesome time, they really weren't, and I heard about some of it later.
Yeah.
So it's all a
Have you
lot of it's fake
found,
anyway.
Joanne,
What's that?
with being on, have you found with being on Twitch that you find not only you feel more transparent with your community, but you see more transparency in other people as well, just being their natural, normal selves?
I think so. Yeah, I would say.
Mm.
But what I would say about it has been something that's been a little bit of a problem for me is sometimes I over identify with people and I recognize that it's a cultural thing to some degree There's some people that are streamers that I think of as friends, and they actually don't think of me as a friend. They think of me as more as like an online acquaintance, and I might wind up feeling very connected to them, and I realize that maybe they're being their self, but their connection that they feel toward me is not necessarily mutual. So it's something I have to be careful about.
Yeah, understanding where the line is drawn. And I get that. I do get that because at the same time, I would consider you a friend. I would be more than happy to reach out to you at any point in time regarding anything to music. But other than that, Joanne, I would never want to consider trying to reach out to you other than to wish you a happy holidays or wish you well, or when I was in your chat. And for me, the reason being for that would be I would never want to impose. And
Uh,
during the entire process of when we made this piece together, I'd like to feel that I never once felt you imposed on me. And
oh, good.
I think we communicated in a way that meant that there was no imposition on anybody. We were able to create through our own. Like we said, we didn't have necessarily a time scale per se, but we did give ourselves a bit of a deadline. I remember you
We
saying,
eventually had
actually,
to because I had
yeah,
something that I wanted ready by a certain date, and I asked you, could
yeah,
I didn't. I tried not to impose a deadline. I asked you, would it be possible for that
yes,
deadline to
which is
happen?
that was the again. I said it earlier on, Joanne. It was the perfect approach. It might just be for someone like me. It might just be for someone like myself. But that was the perfect because again, I didn't feel like you set me any form of deadline. You just
Hmm.
basically made it very clear. This is where we're working towards. Let's get it done by now.
It would
And
be
it
possible. I would like to try in some
and
way.
again, what that did for me, I don't know whether or not I actually said this during the process of making
Uh
it, but it really did. That was, earlier on I referred to getting a kick up the backside.
huh.
That was you. That's what that was for me, and it was perfectly timed because, again, the
A
words
gentle
were
one,
there.
yeah.
The words were always there. I just had to get out of my own way. I had to stop overthinking things. I had to stop thinking something needed to sound slightly different, and eventually, I just had to speak them for you. And that kick
Right.
up the bum, that gentle kick up the bum, was perfect because it meant that
Thank you.
I got there. I got where I needed to be. Again, it was everything was perfectly done. Everything was so
Thank you.
organic.
Excuse me, I just want to say something that actually is shouted to somebody who hasn't streamed in a long time, who was here as a guest once. Genesis Kiefer Music was here at one time. He hasn't streamed in a long time. I think he's been very busy doing stuff IRL. But I remember him being here talking about. We were talking about our music production, and we were saying about how you always feel like sometimes you want to tweak something, and then you wind up tweaking it again, and never being quite satisfied with it. And I remember Genesis saying, when you're doing things like that, you're really just changing it. You're not really making an impact on the piece that much. You're really just changing it, and then at some point, you just have to make a decision that it's done. You know,
Yeah,
and
I can agree with that.
yeah, and I whenever I feel like I'm just completely overthinking or I feel like I'm never satisfied with it, there's always something I find wrong with it. I remember what Genesis said, and it's just you're just changing it. You're not really making that much of a positive effect. It's probably something someone else won't even notice. It's better just to finish it.
Yeah, when you've got
Yeah.
something to if you like to complete things, finish the thing. That'd be what I would say. If you want to get it completed, you have to finish it.
Thank you for the capper, and also thank you for your comment earlier, Selena, about a powerful statement. Thank you. Well, I'm actually starting to feel a little tired. Speaking of people who are socially challenged.
No, Joanne. Before we sign off, can I
Yeah.
just reiterate how much of a pleasure this has been from start to middle to end. You have been an absolute delight of a collaboration partner. I would 100% recommend you to all my musical friends. I've made you a VIP in my stream. I
Oh,
plan to have
awesome.
a personalized shout out. I want to make sure that I can get the link to the YouTube piece for yourself and have that in my chat so I can use that as a command as well to hopefully encourage as many people as possible. Because again, the ultimate goal will for me will always be what we spoke about, the ability to allow people who are introverted to feel a way of maybe being able to communicate, and for the extroverted to feel like they can help the introverted. To that those two things are the core principles of this piece for me, and I want any and all who may want to listen and get something out of this piece to do so. So thank you
You're
for inviting
welcome.
me in on this journey.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
And
having
really
me on.
hoping that it will start up some other conversations besides this one. I've been trying to think about maybe sharing it with some organizations that it might benefit, and I'm not really quite sure about how to do that. So maybe somebody could get me some guidance on that. Smile says, my grandmother used to say, once a task you have begun, do not stop until it's done. And then the task be great or small, do it well or not at all. Yeah. Well, sometimes too, though, Smile, like we were saying,
I
it
like
may
that.
not be, we do the best you can, but then you don't try to be too perfectionist about it or you won't get it done. My problem is, it's not a problem, it's actually a good thing. I tend to have a lot of ideas in my hat, and I get them like almost every day. So that to the
Same.
point where I feel like I need to finish things so that I can work on other ideas too. And I had something that I just wrote for a Smile because she's moving. And I wrote a piece just for her to have this weekend when she moves because I want it to go with her. And we will have a party when she gets there, maybe, and that will be when we'll show everybody that piece that I basically produced
I look forward
myself.
to it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just say thank you to everyone who has come. Charlie and I will, and Smile loves it. That's wonderful. Yeah. We'll. It's gonna. That one is gonna be on streaming platforms soon if it isn't already. I think the one that I did with Charlie is taking longer because it was a collaboration and they're checking all his stuff. But yeah, I want to thank everyone who came, especially Charlie, just being open to this and
No,
all your
thank
kindness
you.
along the way. I hope we can do more things together, and I really appreciate just the connection.
Look
All
forward
right.
to it, Joanne. Thank you
So,
very
is
much.
there anybody that you guys would like to raid to? Let me see if I can't maybe open a different browser so I will not
Joanne, I
be.
would always suggest this person as a raid, but the reason being is not just because she's a wonderful streamer and a really talented pianist and guitarist, but she is also someone I moderate for. And she came in a little earlier on. She had a listen, and she was very complimentary as always. And that would be Ella the Bunnyman.
Is she on
But
right
again,
now?
I believe Ella will still be on,
That would
of
actually
course.
make things easy for me because
Okay.
the way things are set up right now, if I change my screen, that means everyone will see the same thing I see and it'll be a little awkward.
Okie
So,
dokie.
yeah, so I think we'll just do some thank yous to our mods. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Privateer. Elves online. All right, and let's do some mod love into chat. Anyone who wants to do some mod love emotes, please. There we go.
Always, my love.
Yeah.
Gotta show love for all the
Mod
moderators,
love
no
for
matter what.
Selena, as always. Sometimes she's here with my knowing it, and sometimes I don't know she's here. But a lot of times she's here. And it's me, always like the expert mod of this stream. The Keymaker Music, Bomber, Kakoka, Eonse, Coincidence Machine, all awesome people who are keeping an eye on us. Thank you, everybody.
Mm.
Thank you, lurkers who are hanging out both here and in Ella's stream. I think it's appropriate to write into Ella since she might have us on her stream right now. I don't know.
You never know with Ella. Joanne, this has been an absolute dream. Thank you so much. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, we can be in touch and we might have something else to work on.
Yeah,
Thank you to
I'll think about
all your community, all wonderful humans. Thank you so much. I
Bye
sign
bye.
off,
Much
and I will
love.
join you on the raid, Joanne.
Okay,
See you
everybody,
soon. Have
please
a wonderful day.
copy the raid call if you'd like. There's the non-sub, and here's the sub raid. Thank you. Bye for now. Much love.